So we're going to real quick just look at how to choose a submission type for the assignment that you created in the last step here. So what you want to do is go back to the course that you used to create that assignment. So by clicking courses, hold the control key, and then click the name of the course that you want. And once you're in that course, click assignments. And you should see the last assignment that you created. I have a gang of assignments in my course, so it's going to take forever to load. But when it does load, you'll see those name of that assignment, and then click the name of the assignment. In this case, this will pop up. And then hit edit. So we're going to work on this assignment. And all we're going to do right now, we're going to ignore everything else except this little part right here, that's submission type. And for this, what you're doing is picking how would you have students turn in evidence of understanding whatever it was you wanted them to understand or learn in this assignment. And if you click this drop down, you'll see a couple options. No submission means that you expect students, obviously they're going to submit some evidence somehow, but they're not going to do it in any way, shape, or form related to Canvas. You're just going to use Canvas. This Canvas assignment is just a way for you to like tell them what to do, but you're not expecting that they ever go back to Canvas to turn anything in. They're going to turn in something else to you. Another type is online. And this is probably the most common one. This is one I use all the time in my class. This is the idea that like, okay, so whatever we're going to do, it's going to get online or be online somehow. And the evidence of their learning is going to be submitted through Canvas to you. And I would say it's a pretty efficient way to do it. When we get into this later and talk about how to use grade student assignments on Canvas, they have a pretty efficient method for doing that. However, know that if you do collect evidence of student learning on Canvas, you're going to have to translate the grades for that. You're going to have to manually input those into Skyward until they get Skyward set up. Now, in my mind, that's not so crazy because we do that anyways. We take a piece of paper, we grade it, and then we manually input it on Skyward. It's not that much more work to do that on Canvas. And actually, for me, it helps me stay organized if things come in on Canvas, because then I don't lose papers and things like that. That being said, I'm not a very organized person when it comes to papers, so make your own judgment call on that one. If you do select online, there's some options. Now, text entry. Text entry is the way you turned in a lot of assignments on the first module you did on Canvas. It's a good way to do a quick check for understanding. That is, if a student has hit submit assignment, what they'll actually see is a rich content editor pop up, and they can type in or put in whatever they want to put in to meet standard on that assignment. However, they can't save their progress. That is, if a student starts typing in this rich content editor on Canvas, and then the bell rings, or I don't know, something happens, power goes out, what they did is lost. So this becomes problematic. I would use text entry as a way for students to either copy and paste something that they've already done and teach them how to do that. Teach them like maybe whatever you're doing, but you're copying and pasting something into a text entry. I use it a lot of times for just quick checks for understanding. Something that's going to take someone on average like a minute or two to type into, that it's not a big deal if they lost it because they can just redo it. And if it's not a big deal, if like you just type it up, done, put it in. I think text entry is good for quick checks for understanding, or if you're going to copy and paste stuff from somewhere else and put it in there. Website URL is putting in a link to anything. It could be to a website they found, website they created. It could be anything online that they're turning in. Office 365, I think the best way to have students turn something in using Office 365 is through a website URL. And I'm going to teach you how to do that later in this module. And the idea behind that is students can turn in a link to a document, and then through that link, you can edit that document, you can give that student comments, you can give that student feedback, and they can see those comments and feedback. And it removes the part of the interaction where you'd have to download a file, save a file, and then upload a file, and then make comments, and then download that new file and send a new file. All that is gone if you use website URL in conjunction with Office 365. And we'll get into that later on in this module. Media recording is any video or audio file a student might have to turn into you, which is conceptually really cool, logistically kind of tough. But if you figure out how to make that work in your class, it could be really, really cool. Students can turn in videos and audios. They could actually even make a brief video of themselves explaining a concept or a topic on Canvas. Just by there's a little button that'll pop up, they can just make a recording. However, they need a video camera and a microphone hooked up to the computer they're using at that time. So logistics become a little bit more tricky. However, conceptually and philosophically, really cool things could happen there. File uploads means that any file they have on their computer could be uploaded. So anything, picture, Word document, whatever. If you're gonna do a Word document, I would say hang tight, go on to the next assignments in this module, learn how to use Office 365 and teach students how to use Office 365 to turn in Word documents that way or turn in Excel files that way, because it takes out a whole, you front load a little bit of instruction, then all of a sudden all potential confusion can be removed. Because file uploading, the idea is if you have students upload a Word file, cool, well that Word file now is kind of dead. And anything you do to that Word file or comments you make on it, you have to save that Word file to your computer, and then you have to somehow send it back to the student, which is a little tricky. So Office 365 is a little easier for that. But file upload is just uploading a file. You can choose more than one type. If you're going to choose more than one type, just like anything you do that's specific to your class on Canvas, teach students what to look for and how to do it and what you expect, because it's not as intuitive when students go to submit something if you're expecting more than one type of things to be submitted. Because that would be tricky in your own class too. If you wanted more than one type of piece of paper to come in, that would be something you'd really have to specify. On paper, all you're doing if you click on paper is telling Canvas, I'm going to do this on paper. I am going to maybe enter grades on Canvas manually by hand, but that also doesn't make a lot of sense because then you'd have to enter them into Canvas and then go enter them into Skyward. So for right now, I would stay away from on paper. If you're going to have it on paper, I would maybe just do no submission. And external tool, you can totally ignore that. We'll get to that later. All right, so for this discussion, sorry in the length of the video, what submission type would you use and why, based on how well it would work in your class?